Okay, so this is going to be For No Other Way by Jack Johnson. I'm going to show you how to play it, plus some additional riffs that I included in my cover of it that I did a couple months ago on my channel here. So if you listen to the end, you'll see that. I think they add some nice little flair and touch to the song. But we're going to start off in drop D tuning, capoed on the 3rd fret. That'll put us in the key that he plays in. So for the intro, I like to use my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B string and my pinky for the hammer-ons up to the 5th fret. That sets us up nicely to do the hammer-ons that occur on the G string without having to move our hand or our fingers, really. We're already there in position, and then we can just jump down to that hammer-on there and then come back up. So just going through it briefly, we do a couple hammer-ons from the 3rd to the 5th fret on the B, and then a hammer-on from the open string to the 3rd fret, and then we pluck the B string. This kind of happens quickly. Pluck the B, do a hammer-on from 2 to 4 on the G, and then pluck the B again. And then basically repeat that part again. Except the second time through we end with, and that enables us to set ourselves up for the verse, which we'll go to, but we'll play through this part first slowly. This next part is played during the intro. He plays them on either side of the first verse, basically. So after the intro that we just learned, and then after the first verse. So we'll live here for a little bit. It's one main line that he repeats several times throughout the song, each time with just a little tweak to it. So we'll focus on that one main line, and then I'll talk about how he tweaks it. To start off, though, we're going to be playing our bass note, and then 7th fret of the D string. And a quick mental note to make that is, I think, helpful to keep in mind when you're playing is that 7th fret on the 3rd fret capo is the 10th fret. So just keep that in mind when you ever are needing to get there, because we're going to be doing a lot of sliding around. The 10th fret is where you're going to want to come back to. So we're going to do a slide from the 7th fret up to the 9th, and then 7th fret G string. And it's this one note that he tweaks several times throughout. And again, I'll talk about that at the end, but 7th fret slide to the 9th. And then we're going to do this little bass line of the D and the E string, but D note. So just those two notes back and forth. And then we're going to go to the 7th fret of the A string, slide up to the 9th, oops, and then 7th fret of the D again, and do a slide down to the 4th and a pull off to open. And that is played very fluidly, those two slides. And then we again do the pull off from the 4th fret is the first note of our, so if we play all of those, both of those slides together with that pull off, you see how I substituted the pull off for one of those notes there. And that's the main section, like I say, that he repeats. And so if we play through that as we just went through it. Now when it comes to the tweaks that he does, I'll put little tabs up representing what they are, and I think sometimes it can be helpful to just have a mental note in your head of what they are, as opposed to trying to remember the whole tab as they exist. So the first time through, each of the 4 times that we play, we're going to do the 7th fret for the first one, just like we learned. The 7th fret again. The third one's going to be open, and the 4th one will be back to the 7th fret. So we have, and then again, and then open, and then back to the 7th fret. The second time through, it changes a little bit more. We're going to do the slide and play open, and then the second one will be with the slide to the 7th. The third one's a little bit more complicated. We're going to do the slide up, and then grab the 9th fret of the G string and slide down to the 7th fret. And if you can keep the resonance from the D string playing at the same time, you pick up a nice little residual note there. You can kind of hear that in there. And then the 4th time, it's just the 7th fret again. So I'll play through those both, and you can hear where those different tweaks exist in the 2 different variations of this line. So the first one, we have... And the second one. For the verse, we just have 3 chords that we need to learn. First one's going to be open D string, and then 5th fret of the A, 4th fret of the other D string. And then the second one will be a small bar on the 5th fret of those same 3 strings. 2nd fret, same 3 strings, and then we come back to the 5th fret. And what we play is a rolling line that revolves through those 3 strings. It follows this kind of a pattern. And if you can learn that, all you need to learn is the transitions between them. So we start off, I'll put the tab up. And then we do a slide with a pull off from the 4th, 2nd open string. Similar to what we had done earlier. And I like to do a little slide up to the 5th fret bar. Repeat that pattern. And then the same thing on the 2nd fret. The next part is probably best described as the chorus. It doesn't have a very chorusy feel to it, but we'll call it that. You're going to start off with the same chord that we started on in the first section, 0-5-4, and you're going to play basically the same thing, except you're going to lift off here and switch up to the A string bass note. And you're going to play a pull off from the 2nd fret of the G string, and then on the D string. So that's going to be 4 or 5 with that same slide to pull off that we learned in the last section. And he repeats that a couple times. After the 3rd repetition, I throw in what I believe is probably played by a different guitar, but I like to include it with the main guitar when playing especially just by myself, because when I'm playing acoustic, I like to make it sound as full as possible where I can. So this was one area where I felt like I could do that. And it's just this little line. So I'll put the tab up for that, but you can see it's a bass line that's moving up the string, and we end up on the A string. And the reason we play that, even though it's the same note as the 7th fret here, is so that our left hand can move around more freely. So it's just a nice, easy replacement. We can't really... You see what I mean? So the notes that we're going to play on the high strings are just little two note chords that we'll play. And we're going to do, so the first one's going to be 2nd fret on the bass string, and then open strings. Slide up to the 4. We're going to do a bar on the 2nd fret of those high strings, and then slide up to the 5th fret. We're going to switch to this formation, which is going to be 5, 4, and 3. When we slide up to the 7th, we keep this same formation. And then when we move to the A string, we're going to play the 7th fret of those 2 strings, and then just go back down what we had played. Except down here, I don't bar it down here, just it's easier. And then we're going to find our 5th note on the D string and slide up to our 7th. And then play the 7th fret of the B string. So when you play that together, and I finish with those 2 notes. That's how he plays it the first time. The second time through, he plays the same thing, but instead of ending it down here, he starts going back up. So he goes up, down, and then up again. So I'll put that tab up and show you how that's played. And if you like to do, like I say, the flaws. The outro of the song is the part that we had already learned. And the ending chord is just going to be the one that we had learned earlier, the 0, 5, 4, and then I add in this extra note just to sound a little bit more full. And that's how you play No Other Way.